For those of you who have cards and would like to potentially speak, maybe you can get them to the front, raise your hand, or we'll come get them, and that would be great. This time I'm going to shift this table back to give us a little bit of room. And I think I forgot to mention that the bathrooms are all the way in the back, towards the back exit sign, so in case that's an issue, please go ahead and take advantage. What we're going to do at this point is I'm going to stage up several speakers. You're going to come over to Keenan. Okay, I do need it a little bit quiet so folks can hear. If you'd like to have conversations, that's great. Remember the ground rules, take it outside. So what's going to happen is we're going to stage the speakers up with Keenan. They're going to come up here and speak, and the two folks here are going to go ahead and record the comments on these computers so that we can make sure that we get everybody's comments. And again, if you would like, you can submit your comments in writing. All of those ways you can go outside and have the person at the computer outside also take your comments. So I'm going to start by calling the first few names. If I call your name, I'd like you to go ahead and step up and head towards Mr. Keenan Adams, and he will, you'll then set him up to me. So I have Manley Fuller, Charles Lee, Sandy Edwards, Andrew and Demaro. Awesome. And if I butcher your name, please, I'm so sorry. Mine is super hard to spell. Just correct me. Okay, so can I have the first speaker? For you speakers, the timekeeper's going to be here. She's going to flash the cards. Hopefully you'll notice. She'll try to get your attention. And, when your time's up, and we'll pass it to the next speaker.
Thank you. I'm Manley Fuller with the Florida Wildlife Federation. We're glad that you all are having this event tonight, and we're glad that everybody's getting a chance to express their opinion on this proposal. The Florida Wildlife Federation thinks this is a good idea to go forward with this process, take public comments, and refine the plan. We think this is a great opportunity for public-private partnership. I think the service staff who've already spoken have done a pretty good job of covering most of the issues. The only one that I didn't notice was how in a future refuge they might cooperate with, say, State Division of Forestry on fire management or in case of wildfires or things like that. But we'll be making some comments on that. But I think that, and I read a lot of the comments that were made at the previous meeting, I think there's been some misunderstanding about this. This proposal actually will increase public opportunities for recreation. We think that you need to go forward, go on with the process. This is a willing seller program. This can benefit Everglades restoration. This can provide for water recharge. We think there's a lot of good in this proposal. We want to see it go forward, and we look forward to working with the Fish and Wildlife Service, the other agencies, the public. We think there's opportunities for, I know there's a lot of sportsmen concern, and we're going to be supporting public hunting opportunities on the potential areas that the Fish and Wildlife Service acquires, and we think that this is going to provide, it's a real amenity. I live close to a national wildlife refuge in North Florida. I think they're an excellent neighbor. The person who's featured in here was deer hunting in St. Mark's Refuge. Everybody I know who hunts in that area thinks it's a real privilege to be able to hunt at that refuge. And you got potential here as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Next speaker.
Charles Lee, Director of Advocacy of Florida Audubon. We're the oldest and largest environmental organization in the state, beginning back in 1962. Our organization went into the effort of negotiating voluntary agreements with ranchers in the Kissimmee Basin for the protection of the habitat of the endangered bald eagle in this area. And in 1962, we negotiated voluntary agreements with 59 landowners covering some 500,000 acres of land for the protection of the bald eagle. We believe that the potential for this refuge lies primarily in the partnership with the existing landowners, and those landowners who would like to find a way to assure the continuation of their ranching activities upon these lands in perpetuity for future generations, and at the same time receive fair compensation for the development rights of their land. In talking to many landowners in this area, we know that many are interested in these kinds of partnerships. More are interested in these partnerships than are interested in a fee simple sale. But there are some who would be interested in a fee simple sale. So I would hope that as the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service proceeds, that the guiding light of their process is to find ways to most cooperatively work with the desires of the landowners in the basin, that they focus upon the largest parcels of the landowners who are willing sellers of easements, and we believe that in the end, whether you are a hunter or a fisherman or a bird watcher or simply love the Kissimmee Prairie, that the outcome will be that in future generations we can keep it like it is, and that is in fact the outcome we are seeking. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm going to take up a few more speakers. Michelle Walter, Claude LeMay, Kevin Moran, and our next speaker.
Hi, my name is Sandy Edwards, and my question was, why is the map constantly changing? Why are you taking out the colors? And my major concern was you took our property, River Ranch Acres, and you got it from, before it was outlined in black as mostly wanted, fee simple purchase, most wanted. Now you don't even show it on your map you're presenting tonight, but if you go to your website, it showed as a Florida Forever project. Can you tell me why?
Yes, thank you for your thank you for the question. The question, as I understand it, is why did we change the map and why is it evolving?
Basically, your map has changed every piece of paper you give out. From Kissimmee to this meeting, the map changed. From the original news article, the map changed. So I'm asking over and over. I just want to know why every time we get there's an update, everything's changing, but yet we're still involved in the acquisition.
Okay, the reason why the map is changing, and it will change throughout this process, is that as we receive interest or disinterest from landowners, that boundary will change. It also changed because when we first started the project, what was first on our website was just a conceptual design. It's what we went forward and we said we have this idea that we want to proceed with. Once we were told that it's okay to proceed and study this further, we went further on and defined the boundary lines according to the watershed boundaries, and that's the map that you see today. It's a little bit further refined and specifically relates to the watershed boundary of the Everglades.
But why? I mean, basically, we're still on there, but as
Thank you for your comment.
you're welcome.
Next speaker.
He keeps saying proposal, and they keep saying planning, and I would like to know who makes the final decision on this whole situation. Does somebody answer that?
Thank you. Sure. The service director will make the final decision on this proposal. We go through planning. As I mentioned earlier, we have the preliminary and the internal. That decision by the director is simply to say, sounds good, take it to the public. That's what we're doing now. Once the public reviews the draft land protection plan, we write up the final one, it goes back to the director, and the director is the one that makes the final decision of if this will be a refuge and conservation area and what it will look like.
What is the said director's name?
Dan Ash. And he's going through confirmation hearings this week.
And that's in Congress?
Well, Congress runs the confirmation hearings.
And this is all political.
Yes. Senate confirmation hearings are next Tuesday morning.
Next speaker. Hi, Michelle. I'm a property owner at River Ranch. I have a comment and a question. My husband and I take our girls to River Ranch almost every weekend. They've developed a love and respect for the land with their own hands-on experiences. On page 20 of your proposal, you have $1 million allocated for interpretive displays at a $3 million visitor center. You will never convince me that looking at pretty pictures on a wall could ever replace their personal experiences that they've had. Federal government is involved. The government has the ability to use eminent domain laws. You keep saying if we don't want to sell our land, we don't have to. But in reality, the laws are written that if it comes right down to it, we don't have a choice.
That's right.
That's right. No comment?
No, happy to comment on that one. Every federal agency, the federal government does have the right for eminent domain. That is true. The service, one of the federal agencies, our service, we have our policy. And our policy is that we only acquire from willing sellers. So although we have the right, our policy is that we acquire from willing sellers. Because, you know what, if you're not happy and we take your land, that doesn't sit well with you and it doesn't sit well with any of your neighbors. And so that just doesn't make, it's not good business for us. We want to win with the situation.
But within your agency, you also have the ability to change your policies.
Okay, we're not going to have a back and forth. We're not having the service does have a willing seller policy. I'm going to call the next speaker so they can stage up. Jason
Change the
Furman,
policies every time they come to
Julie Bidwell, George Wilson. And here's our next speaker.
Kevin Moran, River Ranch. We maintain our property like you want it maintained. We have a Utah. We have feeding programs. We have forestry. We work with them all. 60,000 people come on that property a year. You would never get around regular public land in 1 year. I'd like you to come to our property, my guest, and see how we run the place. Show you what we do. I mean, we're not picture perfect, but we do a pretty good job without any money from the government. And the next question is, well, damn. What do you know about partners? You got partners in all these agencies. How could the landowner be part of the partnership with that director board? Thank you.
Thank you for that comment. That's a really important question. I've received several comments from the folks at River Ranch in that community, and I certainly applaud your passion for your landscape. And the tone and the tenor from you implies to me that you would make a very good partner in this landscape. We have a willing seller program. If the folks in River Ranch are not interested in selling, that's fine. There might be something that you might be interested in with a conservation easement. That would be fine too, where you get to maintain your homes, your recreation, and we just protect it along with you from development in the future. So I applaud the folks at River Ranch for their stewardship, just as the ranching community has protected and preserved their landscape as well.
See, that's what we're doing. We don't want any developments in there.
My name is Paul Bavary. I'm a River Ranch property owner. First of all, I'd like to know what the financial impact would be on the small businesses. Each one of us spend about $300 every time we go out there. That's a lot of money going to your small businesses that they're not going to get. So is there some kind of something being done to check out the financial part of it, how it affects your local businesses?
Yeah. Yeah. Woo!
There have been several studies that have been done regarding public lands and the benefits that they bring to the local community. And there's a tremendous return that is known. Typically what we've been seeing in the reports and the research that's been done, that there's a 4-to-1 return.
Okay, so I'm going to call up the next speakers to stage. Captain Dave
Marquette, Donald Abel, and Richard Sprague. Oh, you didn't enough?
And I also want to know, most of us own buggies and four-wheelers, and I keep hearing you say in some points that you will let us ride a four-wheeler, and other points you won't. But you're not going to allow any of our off-road vehicles back in this property, are you?
On the lands that are part of the conservation easement program, where the landowner still controls and maintains the land, we're not going to have anything to do with the types of activities that are occurring on those lands. So if a landowner enters into a conservation agreement and we agree not to develop that land, we're not going to take any interest in running buggies on that at all. So you'd be able to do whatever you're doing now.
Yeah.
It would just be that one particular right that we would be interested in.
Yeah.
Next speaker.
Hi, I'm Jason Furman, property owner of River Ranch. No offense to any of your organizations or anything, but we've been around for over 30 years. We haven't needed your assistance yet. And you can't tell me anything that you're going to do that we're not doing already. We take care of it. Talk about a place where your average working man can take his family and spend a week and be able to afford it. River Ranch is in danger. There's no other place like it in the state of Florida. And when you lay your head down tonight to go to sleep, I want you to think of that. You're affecting a lot of lives and a lot of the way we raise our kids. They're not out on the streets doing crack and everything else. They're in the woods. They respect nature. We don't have black bear hunting season and panther season. We don't deliberately go dump stuff in the water. We take care of our own. And I would ask, I don't know if anybody else agrees with me, leave us alone. We're not interested in this.
Thank you. My name is George Wilson. I represent the Conservation Fund. We think this is a great opportunity for private landowners who have the right to sell to anybody they want. This is America. They want to sell to government. They want to sell to neighbors. That's their right. I've worked on conservation easements in the South with communities, with private landowners for hundreds of thousands of acres. And I'm here to tell you that it's a wonderful opportunity. If you're a private landowner and you really want to see that property in your family, the next generation, conservation easements are a wonderful tool for estate planning, to prepare for taxes. We lose more farm land and conservation land and ranch land to tax issues and not having opportunities for private landowners. The next crop is houses, and it doesn't really serve any of our needs. So I'm here to tell you that conservation easements are a wonderful tool. They're good for keeping the land on the tax roll. They're good for working with people who are providing a good stewardship of the property, figuring out how they're providing that stewardship, and putting that stewardship plan into a conservation easement. So it's a good tool. It's we should have had this program in the valley here a long time ago. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to call a few more names. Jeff Cowell, Paula House, Richard Everson. Next speaker.
Presentation, and you presented your idea of what we all do very well. I'm still disturbed because there's not one mention of protecting another endangered species, which is the Florida traditional outdoor family. I founded a camp in River Ranch 35 years ago called Pit City. So the roots with my kids and my grandkids go very deep in the land. We learn to bond with the land, and you don't do that in an educational center. You do that getting dirty. You do that seeing a rattlesnake. You do that seeing the nature as it exists in this plan. I wish that this plan had included some thoughtful consideration of traditional activity. Airboats, swamp buggies are what made the Kissimmee Valley the Kissimmee Valley. If it weren't for airboaters, the Kissimmee Valley would have been destroyed a long time ago. You wouldn't have anything to sell or to buy. Yes, ma'am. I understand. Now, we listened to an hour and a half of a real slick presentation.
Is that even close to anyone's name?
Elton.
Oh, right, Elton. Oh, it's a T. Okay, David Blood and Ernie Scott.
Hi, my name is Donald Abel, and I'm a new member of River Ranch. I'm a new member at River Ranch. My son and I got involved with my grandson about a year ago, and we love the place. And from what I've heard here tonight, by what they've said, we've got our own destiny in our hands. I mean, the bottom line is don't sell the land. And if what he's saying is true, if we could be the neighbors, if River Ranch community doesn't sell 1 acre of the property to them, they're going to be all around us, whatever, and they can't touch us. We can still do and maintain and do what we want to do.
That ain't true, though.
That ain't close to being well, this man right here, you're shaking your head. Here's how I'm agreeing with you.
He's going to tell us what we want to hear. I mean,
The lip
he's
service.
ready to hear
On
us.
98 when they took those people's houses.
Okay, let the man speak. You will have your chance if you would also like to speak. We do try to keep order so everyone gets their opportunity.
I'm not here to argue with anybody. I'm only going by, I got to go by what he said. And I'm not sticking up for him. I'm just saying, don't miss the forest for the trees, okay? What I'm saying is, tell all your neighbors, don't sell anything to anybody. I mean, we can control it, and if we have to fight the domain thing, well then we'll have to all get together and fight that. Okay? Let's just stick together. I mean, we love the place, and they can do what they want to do. I mean, that's all I got to say. I mean, don't sell. Bottom line.
They'll take it.
Well,
Do everything else.
then we got to to fight them, we got to stick together. That's the only way you're going to beat people like this. You got to stick together. Okay?
Idiot.
Thank you. Next speaker.
My name is Paula House, and I'm a resident of Highlands County and landowner, and I have horses, and I've always loved the country, and I grew up in a farm community. But something in Florida is very greatly at risk, and that's the water. And this is a real opportunity to maybe get a hold of what's happening above Lake Okeechobee so that by the time the water gets into Lake Okeechobee, it's not so polluted that it's the equivalent of industrial waste, which is what we have now.
It was created
Now,
by
instead of trying to clean that up south of Okeechobee, it would really be nice if we could maybe get a hold of some of that point source pollution north of Lake Okeechobee, and I think this plan really gives us a great opportunity to do that. Save Our Creeks is an environmental organization that applauds this effort, and we are in favor of it. Thank you.
Speaker, okay, go ahead and call a couple more names.
Tell you it's a good pay.
Terry Pitts, David Houghton, Stephanie Richards.
I'd like to say a few things. I am River Ranch, property owner, and my land is not for sale. And another thing, last week at the meeting in Yosemite, if anybody was there, Danny Emmons got up and said, "We have the bull by its horns." All of you in this room, we're property owners. All we got to say is no and send them back to Washington, D.C. Thank you.
My name's Ernie Goss. I'm a small business owner, avid hunter, River Ranch property owner. I had a question about small flats. The gentleman graciously answered it outside. So I'm going to take my 2 minutes to send a message to the FWC, the director, and the Congress. When they take out Disney, tell 1 million people to move out of Orlando, bring in bulldozers, get rid of the dike that they built 40 years ago, take down the dike around Okeechobee, get rid of Alligator Alley in 41, then the Everglades will be restored.
My name's Elton Dinner. My wife and I live in Lake Placid, and live within the boundaries of Caroline and the map. I've been an area by profession. I was born in Tallahassee 83 years ago, and I've been a fraction veterinarian for 60 years, and had a few other things to do with environmental matters and taking care of God's creation, animals and
immediate desires and ambitions and fears. You got to look at long range. My folks first came here in Lake Placid in the early 1920s. So we anxious here tonight. I can tell it, I can feel it, but believe me, it's in the long run going to be best for you and your family, and I think you ought to try to support it if you can.
Boom! Everybody needs to be able to speak, and that's not helping us maintain an atmosphere where people feel comfortable speaking. All right, next speaker.
Shame on you guys.
My name is David Glenn. I'm from River Ranch. I don't think you'll find a person who's really going to support conservation easements, conservation of wildlife habitat, and care, taking care of it. Supports hikers, bikers, all stakeholders. My concerns about accessibility, you touched on it earlier, but we have places like we have Flamingo Villa right here on 98, Park National Wildlife Refuge System, with no accessibility, no parking areas, no walkthroughs. There's a chain and there's a gate on both entrances. The public had very limited accessibility. Merritt Island is a hunter. You allow hunting, but it's a very restricted hunting. It's certain days, specific times. To say that you allow something, but then restrict it in such a way, that needs to be clarified. That's a problem. I think you'll find that's a problem through most everybody here. This traditional law and traditional use, and having the ability and the freedom on the fee lands that you look to acquire.
Hi, I'm a River Ranch property owner, and I've done a lot of research on this, and one of the things that I find very alarming is the fact that in other states in the country, you guys have done the same exact thing, and you've snowballed them saying that this is good, this is great, and we're going to wait till a later time to decide what to do with the land, and now out west you have ranchers who are in current battles with you guys about you kicking them off the land. And the same thing's going to happen here. Once you allow them on there, they're going to say, hey, this is great for the time being, and then 5 years later, guess what? We get kicked out of the land. Eddie Pearson, Thomas David Hicks, Mel Flack.
My name is Terry Hitt, local resident. I guess one of my biggest concerns would be, I see on here that we have $350 million earmarked for conservation easements that no one else in this room is going to be able to utilize when that money is spent. It's our money, $350 million, and we will never have access to that property. The person that owns it now is going to have full use of it day in and day out. We spend $350 million taxpayers' money, and we have no rights or no access, and I think that's wrong. Thank you.
Tim Van Scoit, Phil Reiner, Danny Brantley.
Good evening. My name is David Houghton. I work for the National Wildlife Refuge Association. And I first would like to thank the Fish and Wildlife Service. It's not often that the government asks you what your opinion is, and I think tonight is a real show of democracy. We are in favor of this for 3 reasons. One, we're in favor of maintaining the ranching community. The ranching community is in trouble, and conservation easements are a very good solution for passing open land on to the next generation. 2, we are in favor of hunting and fishing, and we believe this proposal will be good for hunting and fishing. The third is about willing sellers. If you have a piece of property that is in that circle and you're not interested in selling to the United States government, you do not have to sell. Only people who are willing to sell. And I like to judge somebody if I don't know them by their friends. And I will tell you who lobbies for the National Wildlife Refuge System. The National Rifle Association lobbies for the Fish and Wildlife Refuges. The Ducks Unlimited lobbies for the Fish and Wildlife Refuges. The Isaac Walton League lobbies for Fish and Wildlife Refuges. So I urge you to have an open mind. Look who supports National Wildlife Refuges and you will see that you have a lot in common with them. And about Montana, talk to like a dozen landscapes in Montana that the ranchers there are now working very closely with the Fish and Wildlife Service. Thank you for the time.
That's not what the article says.
I'm going to call a couple more names. Jay McCabe. Okay, I might butcher this one. Rose DiGeronimo. DiGeronimo. Anyone by the name of Rose? And Jack DiGeronimo, maybe? Sorry for butchering.
My name's Mel Black. I'm from River Ranch, Montana, and I too am very concerned because, number one, just like the veteran, if we lose this property, I will not be able to hunt or fish anymore. I will not have access. I cannot walk very long distances. I love the idea of being able to utilize my ATV to go hunting, fishing, and spend time with my family, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. Thank you.
My name is Tim Van Scoik. I too am a disabled American veteran. There's a lot of us and there's a lot more coming. We're going to need our off-road vehicles and we're going to need access to all government-owned areas. The government is the one who screwed up the water in the first place in the Kissimmee Valley. We all know that. That's no secret. For us to be removed from this area, it's not fair to us as American citizens. I fought for these rights. Tonight I heard a lot of might be's, most likely, when they said whether or not they're going to utilize, their control, their rules that they could or could not. I think we need a true set of restrictions on paper, and we need it soon. We need to know what they're going to do because I also see that we're going to sit here and listen to this for a couple more meetings, and then at the end of the year, they're going to have their own set of rules, and it's not going to matter what we say. They're just going to do it. We need to stop them and stop them now. The best quote that I've heard so far is the devil is in the details. And it is, ladies and gentlemen. And it's not going to be pretty unless we stop them. Thank you.
One of the things that we've heard here tonight was that this is not our policy. Who sets the policy? Who changes the policy? We need to know these things. We need to have all these agreements in writing.
This is a partnership.
What?
Fish and Wildlife Service policy is set by the Director of the Fish and Wildlife Service.
And it can be changed when? At his whim? Is that correct?
The Service Director has the ability to change policy. Yes.
All right, listen
That
to
was
that.
the answer to eminent domain.
Right.
Go, Danny. Give me 4 minutes. My name is Danny Bradley. I'm here representing the Kissimmee River Valley Sportsman Association and the Florida Airmen Association because the president can't be here tonight. I've got 4 different things that I want to question because this is in my backyard. I'm a Florida native. Charlie, Lake Wells Ridge Forest in Lake Wells where I live. What kind of access do we have for that?
For Lake Wales Forest, I do not know. For the Lake
I'll tell you, it's on your website. You have 0.
The Lake Wales Ridge National Wildlife Refuge, that's correct. We do not have access to Lake Wales Ridge National Wildlife Refuge.
They bought it, they locked it down, folks. Number 2, have y'all ever used, y'all tell us you have a no action alternative. Have the U.S. Fish and Wildlife ever used that, or is that just a make you feel goody statement? There's not going to be no 2-minute deal, pal. Don't worry about that.
We've used it for that, and,
This is a yes or no, ma'am. Be clear.
just let me explain, if you don't mind.
Yes or no?
Yes.
There's your no. Last week,
in a PDF on the website. We have all of the comments. So I think I have about 11 pages of comments submitted so far. It's not on the website yet because we're going to put the meeting comments from here on there as well. We have 2 meetings next week too. So it'll be all the comments.
Okay, well, I was told that the comments from last meeting would be on the website. I looked for them, they're not there. And one of the last things I want to mention, because this is right happening in my backyard, so this, man, put that up. So this conservation that they were getting, I'm going to bring out a man's name, and I'm friends with this man, have been for years, and his kids. I've done work for him, but I don't care. You know, he calls us friends, but I'm going to tell him like it is. That's just my style. Kerry Lightsey. Ken Salazar had an article last week in the paper about Kerry Lightsey. It said all that he's doing for the environment and stuff. I know of over $6.5 million he's gotten from the state for conservation easements, and keeps trying to use his property like this. But last week he had over 15 head of cow down that property, and every year he bids the human sludge on that property that's got a conservation easement on it, on Tiger Lake and Palm Island. He bids the human sludge on his pastures, and that ain't nothing, folks, excuse me, but human shit. To run off in Lake Tiger and Lake Yosemite, and this is what we use them for conservation easement, that needs to be stopped now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Robert Van Sternstein, and Frank Denninger. Second speaker.
Thank you very much. My name is John McCabe, and I was sent here by the board of the Big Darling Wildlife Society. I've been a neighbor of Big Darling for about 15 years now, and I can assure you that public access has been great. I fish in there at least twice a week. We boat in there. My children have swam in there, and we think it's a wonderful thing. We also are very concerned about the water quality that Big Darling faces. We live at the other end of this river, and when you all flush your toilet, you know where it ends up. We need to do everything we can as a community here in Florida to clean up our water, continue to have public access to our lands, enjoy them for fishing and hunting, and we're 100% behind that. I can also assure you that as a Friends Society, which is Big Darling Wildlife Society is for the refuge, we have the opportunity to meet with the refuge manager anytime we want. We meet with him probably once a month. We have over 1,000 members that come from the community. It's a great forum to interact and help set policy and work with the director of that refuge. In terms of the small businesses, the only complaint the small businesses have about the wildlife refuge is that they close it one day a week to maintain it. And they wish they'd keep it open. The restaurants notice the difference. The hotels notice the difference. Everybody in the community notices the difference, and they don't like it. But we have to do it to take care of the place. We have to do it to help the animals. I hope that you take seriously about this. I hope that your mind's open. They are available. They will work with you. This is a great opportunity. As a Floridian, I would really urge you that this has the opportunity to preserve the water, preserve wildlife. There's an opportunity for everybody to work together and make that happen. So, thank you.
Next speaker. Yeah. We have a combo.
Hi, I'm Rose Jack DiGeronimo, and I just want to say I'm a seventh generation Floridian. I grew up in camping at the East Wilderness of the Sheep Creek, which closed down a long time ago. Ocala, parts of Ocala, we used to ride and be able to camp and have fun. Those parts are closed now. But I just want to say I'm very passionate about River Ranch. We know a lot of people, have a lot of friends. We're a family out there. We're not just friends, we're a family. And we have cleanup rides, and we have all kind of events for the children. And there's no computers out there. These kids get to ride and camp and learn about the animals and the wildlife. And we're able to ride, and people are very passionate out there about River Ranch. And I just wanted to share that. Like I said, we have cleanup rides. We do all kinds of things out there. And that works for me.
I just want to say that we've been going to River Ranch since '06, and it's not that long, but
like somebody else said, about that when you go out there, you spend money, you buy ATVs, you help the economy and everything. So I think it's a good thing to keep it open.
Byron Mahary? I'm sorry. Scott Fitzpatrick? Richard Hilsebeck.
Good evening. My name is Troy McIntyre. I'm a resident of River Ranch. I don't know where this came from. The notification process for this process is completely inadequate. I don't know if it's done purposely that way or what. You know, when you cook something up in October and develop a schedule for these activities in January, and now we're going to have 4 meetings right in a row, what do you expect? It's crazy. There should be something done about that process so that it's long enough to involve more than just this number of people. I know 2 that couldn't attend just because of the short notice. Your projected project costs don't make any sense. They don't include capital improvements such as survey expenses, signs, roads, access, any of that. That just kind of lets me know that your costs are wrong, and they're never wrong on the low side. Yeah, whatever. 150,000 acres you plan to appropriate.
150 million.
150,000 acres you plan to appropriate. 50,000 in simple fee and 100,000 in non or less than fee. Okay, but your maps don't describe exactly where those areas are. I can tell you from at least my point of view, if you were to leave the River Ranch properties alone, north and south of Highway 60, the whole room would empty out. We just don't. We're not interested. I'm not interested in it. Secondly, this project is overall supposed to cost $700 million. Where are you getting that money from? I understand it's coming from these fees, but why isn't it spent on employment for industry? These meetings are just way too much in a hurry. The refuge specifically is for hunting, fishing. The 6 points, it does not include off-road vehicles. Sell your buggies. Airboats are okay if you're on the water. Conservation area, you are not going into a conservation area. Okay? They have to study it. They have to determine what's there and what's not there.
The last guy was there for 5 minutes.
Yeah. We watched him sleep for 2 minutes, but he can't talk for 3.
What I can say is if we have time at the end, I'm going to ask him to step back up, and otherwise we can
Conservationists are allowed to talk for 5.
Posers are for 3. The large stack that we still have in front of us. I'm going to stage up a couple more speakers, and the next speaker can come up. Frank Denninger, I guess, has 2 cards. Paul Gray, Stephen, maybe Johnson. Next speaker.
I'm Frank Denninger here with Phoenix. Came up tonight on behalf of the Coordination Council. Okay, I'm sorry. But on behalf of the Everglades Coordination Council and Jetport Conservation and Recreation Club down in South Florida. But the council's an umbrella group that covers probably the whole state with different organizations under that umbrella. Our position here is basically, mainly, we met with Charlie last night discussing the points. It's an unequivocal no to the federal involvement in this process. With all due respect, we're all Americans here. Every one of you people, I'm sure, are very nice people. We've got experience with federal agencies, and even though one agency is a little different than the other, you have no choice but to go by every federal law before you start planning. I don't know if you have. I think you've missed a few. We'll discuss that at a later date. But after that, now due to it being a federal process, this group involved, we got every radical environmental maniac in the United States that are very brilliant and well-funded that have put $50,000
You're right.
We've been told in South Florida, well, it's not a vote. Well, we just went through this down in a big cypress preserve. It wasn't a vote, but the guy said when Atlanta got 12,000 comments from a bunch of enviro groups, they have to respond to that in some way, which means they got to move one direction or the other. And basically you're saying you've got partners with the state. Fish and Wildlife Commission, South Florida Waterman deal. That, as far as I know, most people don't want to bite the hand that feeds them. And for sure, two of them, forestry and FWC, get money from you. They're dependent on you for money, and that makes a difference whether you want to say no to being a partner or not. Same as the ranchers. What happens to a rancher that isn't a partner, that has to compete with the partners to get the free money and possibly streamline permitting process? What a sweet world this thing is.
Frank's a hard act to follow. My name is Byron Meharry, and I'm president of the Upper Lakes Coordinating Council. We're a consortium of 18 different conservation organizations. And who in the world wouldn't want a refuge? That's motherhood and apple pie. Well, I'll tell you who doesn't want it. We don't want it.
Right.
Charlie Felicity can sit in the turkey blind with me anytime. I don't think there's a disingenuous bone in this body. But I do not agree with it. This is his baby, and I want to see somebody drive a wooden stake through its heart.
Yeah.
The Picayune Strand, U.S. Fish and Wildlife put money in the purchase of it. Kicked all the ORVs, the buggies, the APC valleys. It's the only practical way to get around down there. You've heard tonight mentioned the Lake Wales Ridge. We're locked out of that. Okay? We've got lots of hatches, water catchment 1 down there. Charles, your organization gave a 50-year lease on it. U.S. Fish and Wildlife managed it for 50 years, renewed it another 6 or 7 years, last 6 or 7 years ago, and they let it grow up 80 of the 160,000 acres grew up in Melaleuca, because the eyes and the ears of the sportsmen weren't in there to tell them and to raise hell with them and say, we need to clean this up. Okay? So we've got, in the sister agency, the Park Service, still under the Department of Interior, in the Big Cypress, 22 years ago, got 147,000 acres called the addition land that we still don't have access in. And they did the final alternative, and they're going to make over half of it wilderness in there, where you can ride a bicycle through. You heard tonight that the final decision will be made by the director. A director so new, he hasn't even been confirmed by Congress yet.
Yeah.
What kind of process is that, guys?
P-O-T-O-I-U, and Steve Caldwell. Next speaker.
Good evening. My name is Scott Fitzpatrick, and I'm with the Owens Law Group. Listen, I want to thank everyone for coming here today. I know it's awful scary when the federal government comes into your neighborhood and tells you they're going to start acquiring vast tracts of land. Let me remind you, last time I checked, this is still a government by the people, for the people. This isn't the government. You are the government. Yeah. There's a lot of change taking place in this country, and part of it might as well start here right now. And let me tell you, I'm a fifth-generation native-born Floridian. I represent over several thousand property owners within this target area. They're not willing sellers, and they never will be. We've got 3 major concerns. One is the cost. I've heard numbers that approach $1 billion. If the household family portion of our national debt is around $118,000, how many tens of thousands are projects like this going to add to my family's share of that burden? Also, we all know this is a willing seller program, but we also all know how quick a willing seller program can turn into an eminent domain program.
Yeah.
We're not fooled by that. And lastly, we've heard a lot of argument about the ranching community and how they're suffering from estate taxes. Let me tell you, if I had an hour here, I would prove to you that that's not true. And I challenge anyone here to a debate that would like to argue these issues with me. Thank you.
I'm Richard Hilsenbeck, Director of Conservation Projects for the Florida chapter of the Nature Conservancy, and we're a private, non-profit, non-regulatory, non-governmental organization, and we do support the refuge. I will tell you, I learned a lot at the Kissimmee meeting last week, and I will tell you, Captain Dave Marquette, they do have some valid points. I mean, I have heard some concerns that I know are major concern to a lot of folks, and some things need to be corrected, but this is a much larger issue than some of these things, even though I can concur with them. There's the ranching economy in the state of Florida, agricultural economy in the state of Florida is the number 2 economic driver in this state. That's jobs, that's beef that you all eat, that's land that you would never get to access otherwise if it's turned into houses, neighborhoods, streets, roads, development. You'll never ever access that. You'll never airboat it. You'll never hunt it if that happens. These conservation easements can be a good thing. Keeps the lands on the tax rolls under management. It keeps the water on the land. And this is what we all depend on. Got to have that water flowing down. You can't restore the southern part of the Everglades without restoring the northern part of the Everglades. So that is an important part of this, the economy, plus tourism revenue. That's the number 1 economic driver. That's jobs in the state of Florida, tourism. A lot of tourism. If I was in River Ranch, I'll tell you, I'd start doing some tours out there from folks and charging them. You're right, you do have a good way of life out there, lots of good things.
It's not about money.
Huh?
It's not about money.
Well, I hear you. But there's a lot of good things in this, and I'm going to say,
Time. Gone.
I'll see my time, but y'all ought to just keep an open mind on this, please.
Next speaker, when she does 0, that's the time. Come here.
Hi, I'm Paul Gray. I'm a scientist for Aguilana, Florida. I work on Lake Okeechobee. For those of us who airboat on Okeechobee, you know that the lake seems to be always way too deep or way too shallow, and it's always too polluted. And the reason the lake's like that, a lot of it comes from up here in the watershed. So Audubon is very supportive of this concept, because what we can do is come here and do water resource projects. We can work with private landowners, restore wetlands, keep the land in food and fiber production. They can still hunt on it, they can still do lumber, and keep the land watershed green. I live here in Larita on the north shore of Lake Estapoga. We're worried about Lake Estapoga too, and whether it's going to get water quality and water fluctuation problems. The agencies are supposed to work in the Arbuckle Creek watershed to protect Lake Estapoga from pollution and all that kind of stuff. This is an opportunity. They're not going to get up here for a long time in their planning processes. This is an opportunity for us to go upstream of Estapoga along Arbuckle Creek and see what kind of projects we can do. Guys, remember the Kissimmee River restoration opened up probably 50,000 acres of area. It's a part of the federal project. I've got a minute left. I'm almost done. It's part of the federal project. This is an opportunity for us both to keep the landscape green and in cattle ranching, which is as traditional Florida as anything, and also to acquire some more land for recreation. So let's keep an open mind on this. I'm hoping to fix Okeechobee as a program. Thank you.
Next speaker. A couple more names. Chance Barber. Jennifer Barron.
How you doing? My concern here is I'm one of the landowners that have property in there that y'all want. My concern is you're saying it's for willing participants right now. Well, can you guarantee me that at a later date, once you own all the land around me, that you will not take my property or force me to sell my property to you? That's my major concern right there. Can you guarantee me that will not happen?
That is the policy of the United States Fish and Wildlife Service, not to work with unwilling landowners. So if you give us permission to appraise, at that point we would do an appraisal on the property and make a written offer. If you do not give us permission to appraise, we will not make an offer for your property.
Oh, limited domain.
Without access. The government will not take my property or force me to sell it in a future date?
That is our policy.
Your policy.
That is our current policy.
You can't guarantee it.
That is our current policy.
Yeah, current policy.
I will say that we have plenty of refuges with private inholdings that exist and have persisted through time.
We just want an honest answer about the real estate. Sure not gonna get one.
Hi, I'm Lon Nelson. I am a River Ranch property owner. I grew up in the Everglades 40-something years ago. Governor Grant gave that land away to the Indians. Noticed the government got involved. Well, now the Indians are kicking us out. Then the FWC. I moved up here. I bought my piece of property to raise my daughter in the woods like I was raised. We hunt, we fish, we have four-wheelers, we have buggies. We ride around just like seeing this stuff. That land's gone in the Everglades. I'll never get to go back there again. I bought my land so it couldn't be bought out from underneath me and sold to somebody else and have to move. Now the government stepped in and I solved that problem. I purchased it and I was grateful to. Now the government's stepping in here and they're going to take it away from us if we let them. My land's not for sale. And I know we're all here for the same reason, so don't sell it. Thanks.
Brad Cornell. I think that's Cornell. Frank Lamonaco. Pamela Fentress.
I'm J.P. Dwight, the Everglades Law Center, appearing tonight on behalf of the Conservancy of Southwest Florida, and it's more than 6,000 members. And we stand here tonight in support of the proposed refuge by the Fish and Wildlife Service. And just a couple points I would like to make. I think it's important to discuss kind of the nature of the proposed model here. I think the wildlife refuge system, as it stands, is a particularly appealing model and framework in which to operate under because it values wildlife-dependent uses consistent with conservation values. And as we see it, this is not only a win for the Kissimmee River Valley, but also the entire Everglades ecosystem. It will not only improve water quality going into Lake Okeechobee, but for those of you like myself who fish in the coastal estuaries further south, it will help avoid and eliminate the need possibly for discharges from Lake Okeechobee by providing much-needed water storage north of the lake. So again, I'd like to thank the service for tonight's presentation, and we support your proposal. Thank you.
Next speaker. Are you all stage show? Okay, I want to make sure I got a lot of people. Go ahead.
My name is Chance Barber. I'm a seventh generation Floridian. My family came here in 1829, 16 years before this was a state. I'm a Florida cracker, and I'm an endangered species. My kids were born on the ridge, I was born on the ridge, and I hope my grandchildren will be born on this ridge. You've heard tonight the same thing we've been told over and over. You heard about the expansion lands in Big Cypress. I hunt Big Cypress. We've had 22 years, they haven't let us in. Flamingo villas. I live out by Flamingo villas. We've got wild mint growing out there now. They don't want to let the people in to hunt the hogs, so now the hogs are running out in the middle of the night getting hit every day because they won't have somebody come in here and take the hogs for them. But you and I are going to pay $1,000 a head for those hogs to be trapped out of here because that's their policy. Okay? Most of these guys probably haven't read this. This is the United States Constitution.
Yeah.
Okay? Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 says, the United States government exercises authority over all places purchased by the consent of the legislature of the states in which the same shall be for the erection of forts, magazines, arsenals, dockyards, and other needful buildings. That's the only power the Fed has to buy land in our states. That's it. They were talking about Roosevelt. Roosevelt was the first progressive to burn this Constitution. The Fed can build forts and yards. They cannot buy land in our state without our own legislature. You are sovereign. Never settle.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Brad Cornell, and I work Collier County Audubon Society. And we're here to support this Greater Everglades acres that are under USDA easement. We have worked with some conservation partners with most of the major landowners in Collier County, Hendry County, and Glades County on cooperative ways to protect wetlands and panther habitat that also rewards these landowners. These are landowners that represent hundreds of thousands of acres in southwest Florida that is important for all of us, whether we're outdoor recreationists, hunters, or interested in water supply and clean water and protecting the Everglades. So this has been very successful. In Collier County alone, we've protected 56,000 acres without buying any of it. It's all been still in private ownership and is permanently protected for panther habitat and wetlands. I think that is a really good model, and I think that's the collaboration that this is trying to be as well. I think this collaborative approach has a lot of merit, and I hope you can think about that and be open-minded about that. I also want to point out that we have heard from the landowners that we work with in Hendry and Collier counties. They are very willing to start selling now, in addition to the 50,000 acres that have already been put into protection. They're ready to sell right now, either easement or fee simple. So I think that recommends that the Florida Panther National Wildlife Refuge expansion and Fish Eating Creek need to be at least as urgently put forward as the Headwaters Refuge. All three of those need to move forward quickly. I think that's a benefit for all of us in the public, for water supply, for hunting, for recreation, for keeping ranches in Florida. So thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Barron. I'm on the board of directors for a ranch, and I'd like to say how wonderful it is to see standing room only at this meeting, and I'm glad everybody's here. Just to let everyone know, conservation easements are not for a little bit, it is forever. If you agree to a conservation easement, it does not go away if you decide to sell your property to someone else. It is forever. They do have control. They say whether you can build a shed, a barn, anything. The next thing is, I wanted to know exactly how many landowners are encompassed in that circle that you've made. Does anyone know?
About 75,000. How many have been notified?
That was the next one, Brady.
I do not know how many folks are in that boundary.
And that was the next question, how many of us were notified, because none of us got any notification that these meetings were happening.
Yeah.
And there's also the majority of our land is in Polk County. There were no meetings in Polk County. We had to drive an hour to get here to come to this meeting.
After working all day.
After working all day. And I had to leave early because I live way over that way. Next speaker. Mr. Tuck. Gail Gillis. Mary Smith. Yes.
Miranda.
There we go, Miranda. David Ward. Is that Ward? Hi, my name is Pam Pentress. I'm a 7th generation Floridian, 4th generation citrus grower. First and foremost, I believe in private property rights. And they talked a lot tonight about being a willing seller, a willing landowner. We have a situation in Glades County. We are next to one of these pays for environmental services. We are next to Light Brothers West Watering Hole. They're storing stagnant water. It adversely impacted our property. So don't just think that it's only for the willing. If you're adjacent to these properties, you can be impacted. Their nutrient removal, storage, and we spent $80,000 to date over the last year and a half paying consultants and stuff, trying to find Light Brothers, South Florida, World Wildlife Fund, trying to get somebody to hear us and to do what's fair and the right thing. So be careful. Thank you.
I'm a proud member of the River Ranch Property Owners Association, and I firmly believe that anybody that doesn't own property there ought to keep a note of our business. Salazar, who is the Director of Interior with the government, with no conservation if he died in it, you know. People like that try to run our stuff. What did the Indians say when we run them off their property? White men speak with forked tongues. Well, that's the way I feel like y'all trying to do. You shouldn't be with Benny Hinn. You could sell a quarter for 50 cents. Thank you.
No photos of that.
My name is Dale Jones. I'm the president of the Highlands County Audubon Society, which is the largest environmental group in the area.
Somebody take a picture.
Yes, I can also say that my parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents owned land in Florida and lived in Florida, proud Floridian. I can tell you that one of the issues the Audubon Society has been concerned with is the nutrient load flowing into Lake Okeechobee. Runoff from farms, including fertilizer, farmland ranches, has been a problem. There's an excessive amount of nutrients flowing into Lake Okeechobee, and it's been a problem that environmental agencies have been trying to address for years. The information that I've heard is not very encouraging. A lot more needs to be done, and the conservation easements that we're talking about that are part of this headwaters refuge, which we do need, these conservation easements are part of an effort to control the nutrients flowing into Lake Okeechobee. So I know this is something we've had programs about this at the Audubon Society, and more people ought to be informed about it and concerned about it. So we hope that this headwaters initiative will go forward and that it will help purify the waters going into Lake Okeechobee and preserve Lake Okeechobee in the Everglades, whole Everglades system.
Well, you know what's so bad is the government screwed up the water. Why would we trust them to fix it now?
Tell me if can I be here or heard? Am I doing this right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Actually, I didn't sign up to speak. I came to learn. But, yeah. And I didn't expect you to call on me. But I've learned a lot of things tonight. And I see a lot of people who really love their land and their families and feel very strongly about holding on to it and passing it on. And I think that's a wonderful thing. I have a daughter and a son-in-law and grandchildren on a farm in Iowa. And actually they live near a wildlife refuge area on the Mississippi River, where they have a cabin and go to fish and to, ride on their pontoon boat and spend their recreational time. But I've never seen so many birds and fish, and it's just wonderful. Okay. This sounds to me like an interesting opportunity to hold on to your land and still have some uses that will help the water table from being depleted. When I see all this business about the sinkholes, it's really scary. And I know that we have to hold on to water, and the fresh water supply is important. And also for southeast Florida. And I hope you will do what you can to perhaps to help to preserve
no doubt.
the environment that we have. Okay. I hope a good decision is made. Thank you very much for your time. Next speaker.
Why are you clapping?
Good evening.
She has a right to her
My name is
opinion.
Butch Randolph, the Tea Party Solutions in Marion County. We drove a long way to come down here. We're at the city meeting. Let me share a few things with you. Federal government. Do you trust your federal government?
No.
Right answer. We have experienced in the last year or two, Nancy Pelosi, Harry Reid, and President Obama shredding our Constitution. Do you honestly believe that anything that these people propose to you is going to be stood up for by our Congress?
No.
You can't do this, folks. Marion County has 60% of its property currently owned by either the federal government, the state government, or the county government. And they're trying to grab more because we got
got a lot of the water. We got 3 major springs that provide most of the water for Central Florida. They want it off. They want you off the land because you're considered a blight. You get in the way of their wildlife. You're polluting their water. Think about what these people are telling you. They're telling you that you are the bad person. You're the person that's causing all these problems that they have to save you from. Now, by the way, where's the money come from? Hunters. Every one of you guys that bought a license in the last 5 or 6 years has paid into this fund. $1 billion. Now, what they're proposing right now is phase 1. It's only phase 1. There are 3 phases. You think they're going to stop at 150,000 acres? You're kidding. I vote no, no, no. Hell no. They need to send this away and send these people back to Washington where they came from. We don't need them.
Take your picture of this, asshole! Take your picture!
I want him back up here.
Yeah!
I'm going to tell you the absolute truth. Once you give this to them, you ain't never getting it back. You're never getting it back. There's no recourse. You can't hold their feet to the fire. When the next director comes in, you're done. It doesn't matter. You can take it to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and you cannot collect attorney's fees. Sorry about that, pal. But you're going to have to pay for it, and you're going to lose. It'll wear you down financially. It's a cold war.
Yep.
All right? Don't sell, man. Everybody's got to write their congressman. You got to get busy. We can't just never, ever, ever give up.
You got it.
Okay, we actually made it through all of the folks who signed up to speak. I don't know if anyone else would like to submit a card to speak, or if anyone else who did not get a chance, I see one coming up, if you did not get a chance to speak and would like to speak, if you would stage up over here. We'll try and get through as many folks as we can in the time that we have allotted. If you would still like to submit comments, there's a different ways you can, and you can go outside and submit comments as well, so I know it's getting late for some folks.
My name is Rich Mopes. I come here from St. Cloud. Drove 2 hours to get here. I was at the meeting at Kissimmee last week, and I heard all the same thing again. One thing I would like to mention is, like I asked Charlie over here, you said that you were familiar with airboats. You said that a lot of this area that you're talking about is dry land and doesn't pertain to airboats. My question to you is, have you ever been on a real airboat? They don't need water. Now that's just one question. The other question that I asked in Kissimmee that didn't get answered, I asked, why do we need the federal government to intervene in Florida's business? Absolutely, we don't. We don't need the federal government in here telling us what the hell to do in our state.
Yeah. Look at his face. Get a picture of that.
Hi, I'm Richard Sprague.
Hey,
Fort Myers. I'm also a ranch property owner. More importantly, I'm an American, and this is my property. You cannot have it. I find it kind of funny that they talk about 50,000 acres for land acquisition fee, and circled on their map is River Ranch, which is approximately 50,000 acres.
Yeah.
Also, colored in red is their most important. What is colored in red?
River Ranch.
They talk about, fragmented land. If they get a couple of us to go, then pretty soon they'll say, well, we got fragmented lands. We need to purchase this other land or take it from these other people to make it one big land. Don't let them have it. This is the same thing as people have talked about this, it started Big Cypress, they did the same thing. They started out slowly kicking out the ATVers. Then they bought the willing property owners, and they bought the tax rights of the people that hadn't visited or paid their taxes. Slowly but surely, it's just the beginning of the snowball. It's just the tip of the iceberg. They burned Camp together, absolutely. Same thing happened in Key Rock. for the environment. Just because I ride an ATV doesn't mean that I don't. But, so I ride up there, and I see these trails blocked off. So I get off with my ATV, and I walk 100 yards down the trail. And what do I see? 2 square miles of clear-cut land. Tell me how that takes care of the environment.
Yeah.
They block off my trail to clear-cut the land. Body Water's canoe area in Minnesota, same thing. They talk about the cost. That's the start of the cost. Nowhere does it say what's going to cost to maintain the land, what's going to cost for them to take down the people's properties and haul that stuff away, get rid of roads. Thank you for your time.
I'm just going to make it short and sweet. My name is C.H. Griffin III. I have property out there. Myself. We'll ride out with everybody else. Thank you.
One thing Dan Kirkland pretty much.
I like how they stage all the environmentalists from here.
16 unit strain, I know it's more of a cage issue, but the reason everybody has such a negative against y'all, we were promising for the outdoorsmen and stuff, and a few people were verified, never have offered anything to have done for us. So, you get a negative feedback from it, but everybody here probably loves trees and animals more than any one person. But hey, keep lying to us, take it from us. You don't get a negative feed. No, my opinion is, call your citizen gets screwed twice.
Yeah.
Okay, you got 4 minutes. I got 3 minutes because she was waving a 1 minute flag at me and I got frustrated and left off. I tell you, there is possibility of a compromise here. And that is that a lot of people in this room have some confidence in the FWC. If you have a goal of this great deal, why don't you give $100 million of the $700 million to the FWC and give them some specific goals to accomplish? And let them have the keys to the land you own. And let's see if the general public can't love your land like you don't believe we can. Everybody here knows that once the federal government buys land, the general population is off of it. I think you'll get great support for this project if you take some money and give it to an organization in the state that's earned our trust and let them do a demonstration project on it. I mean, it's a possibility because you're going to get fought tooth and nail here because we don't trust you. And understand, America is bankrupt. And when you start talking about $700 million to start this thing, we can't afford it. The guy who has appointed your new director is going to get fired in 2 years. We're done. The change we don't like.
Yeah.
You saw it in the last election. So the possibility of a compromise where you achieve your goal through another method is something you might want to consider. That's all I'm saying. I mean, they're people that we trust. At least if they're going to have their way with us, we're going to get kissed first. We're not going to get kissed here. So, if you really want to achieve the goal, look at another alternative method of achieving that goal.
See, they're not.
Maybe your one idea is not necessarily the only best idea. And in the meantime, when you do your PowerPoint and you do a beautiful brochure, think about the people you impact and show some respect for the people in this room that value traditional Florida outdoor recreation, airboats, boats, ATVs, and the love of the land that they have protected for years and years. We don't destroy the land, we protect it. We're the, Byron Harry said, we're the eyes and the ears that discover the problems first. And when you take the people off the land that love the land, bad things happen. Thank you.
Second round, are there any people who haven't submitted comments that still wish to submit comments? We'll continue with the re-submitters. That's okay. Everyone else
came up here and spoke and did not tell these good people what they came here to hear. A lot of people had questions, made statements, and walked away. They never said, I am for or against this project. I think these people are looking for that information. If people got an opinion, they'll all line up and say it either way. The other thing, we're complaining about federal involvement, basically for what that process generally it requires certain things. And in page 21 of this project proposal, which is on the internet, back on page 21, 2 sentences from the end on page 22, this section is named Special Consideration. I don't know what they didn't name as Wilderness, because that's where the wilderness was talked about. And the first sentence I noticed in there says, we have done an informal review. And during that, they came up with a result that most of the lands do not contain all the wilderness attributes that we require. Well, number one, they don't have to contain all the wilderness attributes to be a wilderness designation or recommended area, because once that happens, they got to manage it like a wilderness pretty close. And most areas not containing all the attributes means some areas do. So that's guaranteeing. If they do a review, they have to declare wilderness. And the last sentence in this thing says, however, we will do a mandatory wilderness review. So there's a guarantee of wilderness somewhere in this, if the federal government is in charge. Now, like Mr. Marquette said, the state program is a different story. And we don't have 50,000 comments from all over the U.S. and the world coming in and tell us what to do. And we decide for our own future. And by the way, our elected officials have been avoided by the decision made here to instigate this refuge in an administrative manner rather than a legislative manner. So, like the man said before, the Constitution and the elected officials have been circumvented by Charlie's choice. Thank you.
I'm normally used to pontificating a little longer than 3 minutes, so I had to cut the other one short. So I just want to leave something else with you to think about. Marx wrote, the first tenet of the Communist Manifesto, remove their property. It is the property rights of a society that allows you to gain wealth. That's the prime. This isn't about Bambi. This isn't about taking care of the wildlife or being a better custodian, because quite honestly, if you own it, you're the best bloody custodian that there can be. These people up here don't know how to take care of the land. They're bureaucrats. They live in some white tower someplace, and they don't give a crap about your property. They don't give a crap about you. What their concern is to follow their rules and to make sure that you follow their rules. Now, this is America. You're free. It's an unalienable right granted to you by your Creator. Yeah, I see time. I can read it.
Those times only apply in public meetings.
The main thing that you have to remember here, this is your property. It is your rights. You give it up, you give it up forever. Your children will never have it. Your children's children will never have it. And if you really want to see where we're headed, go take a look at Hugo Chavez and Venezuela. Or better yet, Argentina. Argentina, 50 years ago, was the second largest economy in the world, second only to the United States. What happened? They did exactly what we're doing right now. And they inflated their economy, and they trashed their country.
The one gentleman said that we had not given them an answer. So do we say yes, we for this project, or do we say no?
Thank you very much. evening, for coming out and sharing with us. What I came here for, what we came here for, was to listen to you, to hear what you had to say. And remember that this is only during the preliminary process of the program that we're trying to promote. The sentiments that you brought forward tonight will certainly come into play when we start with the alternatives. And I thank you again for your input.
Charlie, we'd like a contact number and email number for the stay and match.
We want an email bombing.
We can provide that for you.
How about now?
I don't know it offhand.
Well, why don't you go look it up? We'll give you a few minutes.
We can give you his email address. I don't have his phone number sort of in my head.
Well, what's his email?
Okay, so if anyone can hear me who wants the email, or maybe you can't hear me just come up, it's